Bernard Jackman believes Ireland's 2026 Six Nations squad under Andy Farrell may not be changing as rapidly as some supporters would like, but the former international hooker insists that clear signs of evolution are beginning to emerge. Speaking on the RT Rugby podcast, Jackman offered a detailed assessment of Farrell's selections, highlighting a mix of injury-enforced decisions, subtle squad turnover, and what he considers some genuinely intriguing tactical calls ahead of Ireland's campaign. Opener against defending champions France. Farrell has faced criticism in recent seasons for persisting with established names, but Jackman argues that this narrative overlooks the gradual transition that is now taking place, particularly as a generation of centurions has quietly moved on. Front row relief after injury scare. One of the most immediate talking points surrounding Ireland's squad announcement was the state of the front row. In the build-up to the Six Nations, concerns had mounted over the availability of key props, raising fears that Ireland could enter the tournament undercooked in one of the most demanding areas of Test rugby. Jackman admitted that the situation had been approaching crisis point before the squad was confirmed. From a positive point of view, it's really pleasing to see Finlay Bealham and Tadhg Furlong named fit to play, with Andrew Porter and Paddy McCarthy being injured. He said, "There was a real crisis there." Jackman also praised the return to form of Jack Boyle, who impressed on his comeback for Leinster against Bayonne, but warned that Ireland's depth at prop remains finely balanced. "You wouldn't want to be having problems on both sides of the scrum," he added. "They may end up having to ask Tom O'Toole to cover Loosehead in Paris if he's not needed on the other side, if something were to happen to Finlay or Tadhg Furlong." While Furlong remains Ireland's most experienced player with 82 Test caps, Jackman pointed out that the squad no longer features anyone who has reached the 100-cap milestone, a striking contrast to recent seasons at Centurions, but plenty of experience for Jackman. The absence of a centurion symbolizes the quiet reshaping of the Irish squad. "The thing that stood out to me looking at this squad is, and people will be saying, oh, it's the same old faces, but we've no centurion, no one near," he explained. The nearest to 100 caps is Furlong. In previous Six Nations campaigns, Ireland could rely on multiple players with over a century of international appearances, including Johnny Sexton, Conor Murray, Cian Healy, Keith Earls, and Peter O'Mahony. All of those figures have now stepped away from Test rugby. However, Jackman was quick to stress that experience remains a major strength. Players such as Finlay Bealham, 54 caps, Jack Conan, 55, Caelan Doris, 55, James Ryan, 76, Josh van der Flier, 75, Bundy Aki, 68, and Gary Ringrose, 69, ensure Ireland are far from green. "There's a nice bit of experience," he said. "It's evolving, maybe not as fast as some people might want it to, but other choices are really interesting." New faces and selection. QPS Ireland squad includes 2 uncapped players, Munster lock Edwin Edogbo and Ulster scrum half Nathan Doak. Jackman believes Edogbo, in particular, is not merely a developmental inclusion and could feature immediately against France. "I don't think he's just a guy in there for development," Jackman said. "He'll be the 23 against France." Jackman suggested Farrell may opt for a powerful second-row combination of Edogbo and Joe McCarthy in Paris, describing it as a horses-for-courses selection aimed at matching France's physicality. "That would be reward for the form he's shown since he came back from injury," he added. "Let's not forget, he was picked for November but got injured." Elsewhere, Jackman highlighted several notable selection calls that signal competition across the squad. Nathan Doak seems to have pushed out Challen Blade, Tom Stewart has pushed out Gus McCarthy, and Robert Balukown is getting rewarded for his form, he said. Jackman also noted the inclusion of Harry Byrne as Ireland's third-choice fly half, despite his absence from the November squad. Harry Byrne is coming now officially as the third-choice 10, even though Andy Farrell spent most of November talking about him. He explained he also pointed to the continued presence of Tom Farrell, praising his consistency for Munster, while acknowledging the faith shown in Joey Carberry covering utility back Jimmy Frawley despite recent injury concerns. It'll be interesting to see if he gets game time now that he's officially moved to Connacht next year, Jackman said, adding that Jacob Stockdale's recall is another reward for form. the unlucky omissions, while Jackman accepted that many of Farrell's decisions were dictated by injury. He still identified players who were unfortunate to miss out. So, it's a nice squad, he said. Zach Ward is probably the unlucky one. I thought maybe he'd sneak in. He also felt Ulster forward Cormac Izuchukwu could count himself unlucky, particularly given Ireland's current back row and second row injury issues. He's someone who hasn't got a huge amount of caps, but is very interesting in terms of the impact he could make, Jackman explained, particularly with Baird out. Leinster form a lingering concern despite his largely positive outlook. Jackman voiced concern over the current form of several Leinster players, even though the province continues to win matches. The biggest issue is whether Farrell can get these players into form. He said, Leinster are winning, but I still think, bar Joe McCarthy and maybe Dan Sheehan in little bits, a lot of them aren't at their very best. Jackman believes this presents Farrell with his biggest challenge heading into the championship, particularly after mixed results from Ireland's recent preparation camps. They're going to Portugal next week, he noted. They had a good build-up to the All Blacks game in Chicago, went over early, but we just didn't really see it come together on the pitch. A squad in transition ultimately. Jackman views Ireland's Six Nations squad as one in measured transition, experienced enough to compete, but still searching for renewed sharpness and cohesion. It's fascinating to see what Farrell can do with this group, he concluded, and if we are going to be contenders for the Six Nations. As Ireland prepare to open their campaign against France, the balance between continuity and evolution will once again be put to the test.